Morning, everyone. My name is Jerry Hawkins. I'm the Executive Director of Dallas Truth, Racial Healing and Transformation, and welcome to another Transformation Tuesday. I'm really excited about our conversation today. We'll be focusing on race, racism, and fashion and media, and we have three amazing guests with us. Transformation Tuesdays is a way for us to talk about race and racism in our community and how to change it. I'm very excited to be with my communications director partner, Stephanie Drinka, and to have our guest today, Miss Leah Frazier, two-time Emmy Award winning, one of the future 50 of DFW's innovation, media maven, journalist, TEDx speaker. And we have the amazing Tashara Parker, anchor and reporter for WFAA, community storyteller, no chill at all, does her thing, and really excited about her, go viral all the time. And the amazing Chasity Samone, the #1 model in Dallas, in my opinion, killing it, Playboy cover artist, just amazing, amazing woman. Also military vet and a whole bunch of other things that you all don't know about Chaz, but we're going to talk about it today. So I want them to all introduce themselves and tell a little bit about their work and their connection to Dallas. And I'll start with you, Leah Frazier, who I call the plug and the connect. Leah Frazier.
Thanks, Jerry. My name is Leah Frazier, and I am currently the CEO of Think3 Media. I am an attorney by trade, and I left the practice of law originally because I started a personal shopping business, so I know it's totally unrelated. But I started a personal shopping business over a decade ago, which led into me getting into the blogging industry. So I became a very prominent fashion blogger in Houston, which turned into journalism, writing for CBS, Examiner, which then turned into trips to New York Fashion Week, and the list goes on and on and on. When I moved back to Dallas, Texas, the fashion industry was just crazier here than it was in Houston. So my career blew up, and I ended up leaving the practice of law 5 years ago to become a full-time entrepreneur. Started Think3 Media because I recognized that there was a lot of fashion businesses at the time that needed marketing, social media, and PR services, of which, like Jerry said, I don't necessarily call myself the plug, but I had the list to get the job done. And so to this day, that's what I do. We do creative marketing and communication services now for not just fashion and beauty clients, but we represent best-selling authors, people in the real estate industry, restaurants, liquor companies, the list goes on and on. So I'm very grateful to be here. I was also signed to the Kim Dawson Agency in 2017. I was discovered at an event that I was speaking at because I had the look, whatever that means. So became a professional model, and have been in InStyle magazine, have done campaigns for Liz Claiborne, Sephora, JCPenney, you name it. So I want to thank Jerry for having me here today for my perspective from media, blogging, and from modeling. And I'm so honored to be here with Tashara and Chasity because they're also so amazing, and I can't wait to hear what they have to share as well.
Awesome. I mean, the resume, right? Let's go to Tashara, so who also has an amazing resume as well. Tashara Parker.
I don't know how I'm gonna just sit there and go after Leah Frazier and basically laid it all out on the line. My goodness.
Okay.
Golly. Shoot. I'm also blessed to be here with Leah and Chasity as well. Jerry and Stephanie, thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. And when it comes to my resume, it's a little different, right? So I actually started out in finance up in Chicago. I was getting my grad degree and I was working in finance for a little while. I knew that wasn't something that I wanted to do. Got my grad degree in journalism after receiving my undergrad from Texas A&M University, but I got my grad degree at DePaul University. Yep, Stephanie, come on now. Stephanie is also a DePaul University grad. And one of the things that I knew about journalism is that I wanted to tell stories that focus on the community. So early on in my career, I started in journalism in 2014 officially in College Station, Texas. Okay. Started there, worked there for a few years, started off as a reporter, ended up becoming the main evening news anchor in College Station, transitioned to Tyler, Texas after a few years. And Tyler is kind of where I really feel like I came into my own when it comes to journalism. I work with a news director who was basically someone who allowed me to just freely tell the types of stories that I wanted to tell. I always wanted to elevate Black voices. That was very important to me in my storytelling, because I think a lot of times when people think about the news, especially as it relates to Black people, a lot of times they think it's bad stuff. And so I wanted to make sure that I was being very intentional about changing that narrative. And so I started doing a lot of that when I was in Tyler, Texas. From Tyler, I ended up moving here to Dallas. So I certainly don't have as much expertise as Miss Leah Frazier when it comes to the Dallas market. But listen, I got here as quick as I can, and I'm learning every single day, and I'm being taught by people every single day. So I certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here. Interested to tell my perspective when it comes to journalism, media, and how fashion and all of that kind of plays a huge role. Not kind of, it does play a huge role, especially as it relates to style, hairstyles. Jerry knows the whole story about that. But yeah, we'll get into some conversation here. So again, excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tashara. And last but definitely not least, my friend Chasity, who is amazing and right from Oak Cliff, Texas. You feel me?
Hey.
Chasity, introduce yourself.
Hey guys, so happy to be here with you guys today to speak with you guys. I don't know much about you guys, but I am excited to learn more about you guys. But I'm from Oak Cliff. I graduated from Carter High School, and after Carter, I went to the Army. My dad was an Army veteran and worked for the government here in Dallas at the Federal Building. And so me and one of my other sisters, we went to the Army. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to rise in ranks and be a general and all of the gloriness of the Army. But I just decided not to, do another term. So I came back home to Dallas, and I guess I pursued a dream of mine fell in my lap, which was modeling. And once it did, I immediately moved to New York. And I lived in New York for 3 years, and I worked with so many people, from Kanye to so many people, a lot of people. And I've done many music videos, so I'm kind of like a vixen a little bit. And I'm under contract with Playboy. I'm a Playmate February of 2020. And I think I'm like a part of the last printed issue of Playboy. So that's kind of iconic to me. Well, sad, but iconic. And I have future plans to become a part of Dallas, city council, and trying to help my community as much as I can. So sorry, I'm kind of keep it short.
Chas always keeps it short, but she's on the cover of Playboy Mexico, first of all, so she's not even telling you all of what's happening.
No, I'm on the cover of Playboy Italy. I'm inside of Playboy Mexico.
Okay.
I'm March Playmate for Mexico, and I'm February for American Playboy.
There we go. Awesome. Well, we'll let Steph kick it off with Leah, and we'll get into it. Thank you all.
Good morning, everyone. Just a quick overview of my background in the fashion world. I actually worked in the fashion blogging and influencer space, which is where I met the amazing Leah Frazier. So her and I have known each other now for, I think, more than 6 years. And we've had this conversation so many times privately between the two of us, dealing with some of these issues in the space on panels. And I was so excited to bring her on to Transformation Tuesday, because it's the first time that we've had our own space to really tell the truth and not have to worry about ruffling feathers. So what I would like to know from my friend Leah is how has technology over the last decade, over your time in the fashion blogging and media industry, either changed or highlighted issues of race and racism in this industry?
I think that it's been both a gift and a curse, particularly in blogging. in an industry where everybody I felt was expected to do the same thing, right? And there was a great disparity, and I can only really speak to what I saw in Dallas of the bloggers that rose to the top. Particularly the bloggers that rose to the top were the ones that had a ton of economic wealth. And it was a going thing that they would brag that their husbands, you know, so you could have a set of bloggers like myself and many of the other bloggers of color that really put in the work. And when I say put in the work, I mean, at the time, go full time all day at our jobs and then, you know, rush to a park and have 4 sets of changes of clothes in the car. And it's 116 degrees outside. And we have our photographer and we're going and, you know, we're taking all these photos, and then you get home and you edit the photos, and then you're having I mean, it was crazy. And then we would be doing our own SEO and trying to figure out, you know, how we could claim our own voice. But yet there was these other women within Dallas who had more economic wealth that had a husband that said, you know, if you want to do this blogging thing, you want to be the top blogger, well, I'm going to take, you know, anywhere 50K and up to pay, you know, some firm in New York to make sure that you're at the top. And then what ended up happening was obviously that the bloggers of color kind of rose down to the bottom because of that economic wealth gap. And then obviously the white bloggers kind of rose to the top. So I feel like not just necessarily technology. I think the technology piece highlighted it. I feel like social media brought to light a lot of the race issues that we have in the blogging industry. So in particular, there's a particular company where there's affiliate programming where if you post an outfit and you tag the outfit, you can make money if somebody decides to purchase from your link. And at the time when I first started blogging, that was like the go-to company. Like if you could say that you were blogging as a part of this company or you were in this group, then you were kind of like, you've made it, you know? And I personally was denied 3 times entry into this particular company. And I couldn't figure out why, because not only was I blogging about fashion every single day, but I was also literally a journalist. So like they could go to CBS Local and see that I was covering the top stories in fashion within the city. When Zach Posen came to town, I was one of 3 people who had the opportunity to go to the penthouse at the Jewel to interview Zach. Okay. When Nicole Miller came to town, I was the first person they called to go interview Nicole. When Trina Turk came to town, I was one of 3 people that went to Highland Park Village to interview Trina. So I wasn't just, in my opinion, just this old, you know, this blogger that just started a blog and didn't know what I was doing. I had the skill set that I felt like I should have been accepted into this group. Now, did I care? No, I didn't need to be validated, but it was just kind of it was a thing for everybody to be a part of this group. And when I saw that there was other non-women of color that were getting in that weren't necessarily fashion bloggers, they were just lifestyle bloggers, but they had the look or, you know, the blonde, the blue eyes, which is something that has been bragged about by this particular company. I just realized that we had a deeper issue. And lucky for me, Steph, you know, I'm confident, so I didn't care. I was like, Leah's gonna get it done. I'm actually gonna make you regret that you didn't, you know, let me into this group. I'm gonna keep these 3 denials as proof so I can show people later on down the road that you know, didn't let me in, and I was very qualified. But I felt bad for the other bloggers, specifically the Black bloggers or the bloggers of color that really wanted to be a part of this mix, and felt like they needed that for validation, but weren't let in. And I knew that the reasons that they weren't let in was because of the color of their skin or the way that they didn't blog in that very luxurious Dallas way, whatever that is. And I feel like it's almost a blessing because technology and social media highlighted that. But at the time, a lot of people weren't using their voices because they were too afraid to come out and speak against this group. And over the last couple of years, y'all can go and Google it. There's been many Black bloggers, other bloggers of color that have come out to talk about the racism in Dallas. Sorry, somebody was calling me. Talk about the racism in Dallas and in the blogging industry. And I don't see much change on their end. But I hope that we can push forward. But yeah, the industry is very racist, and I think we've come into a time where we're not allowing these people to control our destiny anymore. I feel like social media has highlighted the disparities, and people are shocked, which I'm not. And I just hope that the people or the younger sets of folks that are in the industry will just have a thicker set of skin and know that not industry, even the main fashion industry, no one person controls you. No one person can like handpick you and tell you you're gonna rise to the top, even though in Dallas, that's what they think they have that power. They thought they had that power with me. And I just kept my letters because I was like, the attorney side is like, I'm about to prove it up and show everybody how racist you guys are later down the road. And when it was brought to light in a Dallas Observer article, all of a sudden I got an email asking me if I wanted to be a part of the group because they were under fire, because then they were trying to rectify their actions. So it's very prevalent there. A lot of people don't talk about it. I want to talk about it because I want to see it changed. Because blogging is growing more into like non-traditional media right now. And I'm thankful for you, Stephanie, for allowing me to speak on it, because it's something that has been emotionally damaging for a lot of our bloggers of color here in Dallas, who always felt like they hit a ceiling and they never could ascend beyond that because of the powers that be that wanted to make sure that they were kept down.
Thank you, Leah. And I've told Leah this before, and I've written pieces on this, but a lot of the work that I do now, I feel like is my my retribution or my reconciliation from my time working at the organization, Reward Style, that Leah is talking about. Kazana asked what group this was. And it's interesting because I saw the other side of it. I saw how much money was being poured into bloggers that were not women of color. Over periods of time that has compounded. So when you talk about the racial wealth gap, it exists in this industry too. And the people that were given these platforms and this visibility and this promotion years ago are now some of the wealthiest people in the city, in the industry. And so when you start seeing these Black squares and Black Lives Matter, and we're going to promote creators of color now, it's similar to the real world where it's not enough. You've lost all of this time. The wealth gap has continued to grow. So I really appreciate that you are not afraid to speak the truth on this. And thanks, Jerry,
And
for time, because it's been weighing on us for
no, we're going to continue to talk about.
I do want to highlight one thing, Steph, that I forgot to mention too, is that it's not like it's not out there and, you know, it wasn't brought to their attention. It was definitely brought to their attention. And there was an annual conference where there was clearly no Black people present. There was clearly no people of color present. And it was because of the way that the structure, like they had systemic issues within their organization and did not care, and was floating these pictures around. And on social media, you could see all of the Black bloggers and the outrage, you know, people in outrage saying, where are the Black bloggers at? Where's the Hispanic bloggers at? Where are the Asian bloggers? And no one cared. And then George Floyd happens.
Hold off on that, because we want to get more into that. We want to get more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I want to bring Tashara in here because, you know, obviously you're visible every day on WFAA and all of your channels. So not only are people like critiquing your performance, right? But they're also critiquing what you wear, right? Your hairstyles, you know, the way you talk, everything, right? Everything is under attack, right? You know, recently, you've had this kind of viral situation happen with this amazing natural hairstyle you had with these buns. And you've received a lot of, obviously, support, but you've received a lot of discriminatory attacks on your hairstyle as well. I want to know how, first of all, as a Black woman, you've handled these messages that you receive, and what does the Dallas community, Dallas-Fort Worth community, and our community in general need to do differently when it comes to this? You've addressed this very beautifully in a article and in a video on WFAA, but
Yeah.
let's get a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah, I think first of all, look, people gonna like what they gonna like. They gonna complain about what they gonna complain about. I don't think that's ever going to stop. I handle folks, you know, with style, grace, class, whatever you want to say, intelligence and facts, right? You know, a lot of times we get into these heated debates, these heated conversations, and people don't have anything to back up what they're saying. And so when it comes to situations, for example, with the hair situation, I was like, okay, well, let me school them. If they're going to give me an opportunity to school them, that's something that journalists do every single day. So why not do it when it comes to this particular situation? And so I did that. I remember one particular instance where people were writing in because I started to include more Black voices in my stories. You know, one woman in particular, a former educator, by the way, sent an email basically saying, you know, why are you only including Black voices in this particular story? Mind you, this was a story about children. And she basically said, if it was all white children, there will be an uproar. I said, okay, well, let me ask you this. Let me challenge you. Let me ask you, okay, well, when you've only seen all white voices in a story, was there an uproar? Crickets, right? Not much to say. So I try to challenge people. I try to let them know, you know, whatever evidence, whatever factual information I can bring to the conversation, I try to do that. And I think that's very important when it comes to these kind of situations, because people are going to continue to provide their little feedback. And I think it's up to us to make sure that we address it. And shout out to my station, though, Real Talk, for allowing that to happen. Because I think a lot of times with these news organizations, it's like, oh, don't worry about it, or, oh, just move on. Nah, fam, it's time to address the issues head on. You know, if we don't, people are going to continue to do it. And so I'm appreciative that that was even able to take place. So when it comes to what the Dallas, Fort Worth, North Texas community can do, is just be more open-minded, be more willing to see and listen to and to hear different voices. I think we're so stuck in our ways, and it's to a detriment, so to speak. And I just think overall, I'm sorry, what was that? Was that okay? Yeah, I just think overall, just be more open-minded. People are used to seeing a certain type of personality when it comes to the news, and you know, the days of, you know, how news was back in the 70s and 80s, you know, it continues to evolve. And so if there's anything that the Dallas Fort Worth community can do, I would just say be more willing to listen. And I think now during this pandemic, I know we'll get to this, but I think now during this pandemic, people are a little bit more willing to be open-minded in those situations.
No, for sure. Just to follow up, how did you feel about the response you got, particularly from the little girls and the women who were, gassing you up and giving you, putting the battery in your back? I love their commentary on your presentation and the pictures of the young girls. So how did you feel when you received all of those?
Man, it's been incredible. And when I mean, just overwhelming. I tell you what, when I saw some of the pictures that people were sending in, and not only just the pictures though, Jerry, not just the commentary, but the stories that went behind the pictures and the commentary, women sharing their stories. I mean, my inbox is inundated with so many women who have faced hair discrimination, who have been told certain things, who have been told, oh, you got to take your braids out before you can get this job. Oh, you got to press your, like all these different things. And to hear those stories and to see the feedback, I mean, one, it touched my heart, but it also made me a bit sad, because people are still dealing with this in 2020, and it shouldn't be that way. But what was also so empowering is that many of those women, many of those young ladies that sent me messages, basically saying they feel more empowered to do what they want when it comes to their hair. And the thing is, if you are already fearful that someone is going to judge you based on how your hair looks when you walk into the interview, there's no way that you're going to show up and do your best job. It doesn't matter what the job is. It doesn't matter what the situation is. If you don't feel like you can show up as 100% authentically you're not going to be the best person at that job. So it's just been incredible. It's been overwhelming, and really just looking to see what I can do more to continue to support these women and help them pass the Crown Act, which we can talk more about that another time. But yeah, it's been incredible. Yeah, big time.
That's important. Chaz, I call Chaz Mania because I not only because I think that like her mind is like very brilliant and all over, but like Chaz is amazing model, like and she takes the most amazing, she does the most amazing work, and I think that she's all over. Like Chaz, you've been featured in like on the cover of major magazines, these huge music videos, big fashion spreads.
Mhm.
I mean, just doing amazing work. Do you think that if you, had a different color or race, would you have more support in your community? I feel like, I tell you, I've been telling you this for years, is that I'm like, Chaz is like cold, like she should be everywhere. Let me know what you think about that and explain why not.
Well, I feel like if I don't think that I would be any bigger or less, because I feel like me being who I am, dark skinned woman, it's literally, that's why I am who I am, because I literally advocate for dark skinned women, for representation. And I feel like if I was another skin color, or I would take my privilege, I wouldn't care, I wouldn't do anything, and I wouldn't have a voice, I feel like. So I feel like the people who support me because of who I am. So I don't think that I would have any type of like bigger success or anything. I feel like I am who I am because of I am dark skinned and I am a Black woman. So I don't feel like it would be different. I feel like I would probably be a lazy model, privileged, lazy, don't have a voice. I wouldn't be the same person.
So speaking to that,
Somebody was trying to call.
no, it's okay. Speaking to that, because I know that you work very hard. You think that you have to work very like harder at the job because of how you present and how you work?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I feel like I do have to come into every job and work 10 times as harder, or just I don't know if it's 10 times as harder. I just know that, because I don't like token, but usually I am the Black girl, the only Black girl who is on set because they need diversity in their company, and I've gotten hit or in ridiculed for a lot of for a lot of choices that I've done in modeling, for working with people that I didn't know was racist, or people that I didn't know had like a background of a history with Black, with diversity in their company. I just, I didn't do research sometimes, and I took the fall for it. And but I feel like, honestly, there is a disposition with Black women and white models, white women in modeling and fashion. We are not treated, we're not treated fairly. There is a lot of work that needs to be done, as far as representation, as far as people allowing Black women to know exactly how much they're worth, and us getting paid what we're worth. There's a lot of work that needs to be done as far as that as well. So I know it's a lot of work needs to be done, but I do feel like the job, I feel like I'm comfortable with the Black women that's in position to help, further the conversation and help, the young aspiring models or whoever is coming up after us. I do feel like that we are in great position.
No, that's good. That's good. I want to get into some of our group questions, and I'll kick it back to Leah and Stephanie tackle the second question. But what can you all share? And you all just want to keep these brief so we can get through all of them, about like how the intersection of race, racism, and the fashion industry and the media industry has manifested in Dallas. Any history to share? I know some of you all have very recent history, but I remember talking to Chaz about even just her growing up in a school that was a former prison, and I'm just amazed at how this history is coming to the present. So kicking it off with Leah, what can you share about how, like, as a Black woman, that intersection of race, racism, and the fashion industry is manifested? I think you started to get into it before, we started.
Yeah, Jerry, I'm very passionate. It's hard to keep it brief.
So
But I'll actually talk about a research project that I started a couple of years ago that I've actually just restarted recently. And I was researching the history of our Black models here in Dallas. And I didn't realize just how deeply rooted racism was within the industry. Like, I knew it was there. And it was just very interesting how, from what the models were telling me, particularly the ones that were very prevalent in the 70s, how just like Chasity says, there was like that token one. And at the time where it's like, okay, Neiman Marcus could only have like that one Black model, or maybe two Black models that could be a part of the show or be a part of the showroom, and how that kind of trickled down and created tension between Black models within Dallas, because now we're competing against each other. And then you had issues of colorism that would come up, and it perpetuated this cycle, of which I've seen that even with some of these models that we had that originated in Dallas that were Black, that walked the runways with Amon and walked the runway with Naomi Campbell here at Dallas Market Center. And then there were other white models that did the same. They were on the same level. They cycled out differently. And so our Black models ended up, for some that I've interviewed, they are now makeup artists. They're struggling makeup artists. They're like, it's like they were at the top and now they're at the bottom tier of the fashion industry right now, doing my makeup or doing other folks' makeup. Whereas some of the white models that they literally were more qualified than or on the same level than have now come, and they have these really high dollar production companies, and they're known as, the top models of that time. Whereas our Black stories from these Black models who literally created history right here within the city of Dallas was buried. And I'm trying to bring that to light. But I think when we talk about historically racism within the city of Dallas and in the fashion industry, it's here, it's very prevalent. And unfortunately, the way things have cycled out, people don't know these stories, and they don't know that there's a lot of Black women here who particularly made history. I don't think people know that Neiman Marcus was very heavy on diversity and making sure that they employed Black models, that they employed Black people within the stores. They were very supportive of that. Big ups to the Kim Dawson agency as well, that made sure that they took care of their models of color as well. So there's a lot of history here, Jerry, of racism. And unfortunately, the way these models have cycled out and the way it's cycled out, it's still prevalent here in the fashion industry in Dallas. And you can definitely see that there's two levels, whether it's in blogging or whether it's in the industry itself.
Thank you for that. We're going to do more about that. I think a lot of people don't even know that Neiman Marcus is a Dallas company.
Right.
Tashara, as a person has to be cognizant of what she wears every day. What about you? What do you think about the intersection of race, racism, and the fashion industry and media when it comes to what you do every day?
Got to come off mute here to talk, right? Look, do I really feel like I got to be cognizant every single day? I think that's the problem. People are so worried that I'm not cognizant every single day about what I'm wearing. Like, that's the issue, Jerry. Like, they are so worried about,
Right.
The outfits and the dresses. And here's the deal. When it comes to news and media and news anchors and journalists, I think a lot of times when I can have on the same dress as a news anchor down the street or around the corner. And because that person's curves or what have you, now I'm not the curviest person. I ain't trying to say all that, but I'm just saying because that person's curves or whatever you want to call it doesn't sit where mine sit, then it'll be seen as something differently. There's research out there to prove that women of color in this industry have been targeted for the same outfits that I'll just say white women, because that's who it was compared to, that they're wearing. And so I would just say when it comes to Dallas in particular, I just think times are changing and people need to recognize that. I can't speak to the deeply rooted issues and problems. I would love to get with Leah on that study that she's working on, that research that she's doing. But I just think people need to understand that times are changing and they need to be open-minded, like I mentioned earlier. And a lot of times people are so set in their ways that they're not even looking to see something differently. They're so used to that old school, for my company, below model of how things should be, that they're not looking to do things differently. And so, yeah, just get with the times, know that times are changing. And honestly, I'm not going to stop. I'm, I'm going to keep going and I'm going to do me. And I have the support of my company and we going to roll with it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. What about you, Chaz? What have you seen, particularly in Dallas? As I know you travel New York, LA. You're always in New York and LA, and other places. But particularly in Dallas, like this intersection of racism in the fashion industry.
Well, and I would like to name names because just looking back, it did make me feel. It made me feel like I did like it. If I wasn't strong, or I could have went out of that call, that meeting, very defeated, but I didn't let it defeat me. But I went to a model casting. Well, first of all, they called me, they emailed me and wanted to set up a meeting with me, Dragonfly Agency here in Dallas. And I met with Anastasia. She was the owner of the modeling agency. I don't know if I don't know what's going on with that today, but and I had braids in. I had singles. I had braids. This is before I cut off my hair, before I moved to New York and everything, like when I first started modeling and here in Dallas. And she looked at me and she was like, why would you come with braids? Like, why would you come here? I was like, what? And then I was like, all right, okay. I was like, and I didn't even want to speak to her anymore. She was just so rude. And she was like, why did you come here to the model meet casting with braids in your hair? And I'm like, B, this is how my hair is like right now. And I can take them out, but right now this is how I look.
Okay.
And she was like, no, and she was just rude. And I could have been like, dang, like defeated and like, wow, why was she that rude to me? Like, but I was like, oh, I moved to New York. I did literally everything that she probably, I'm sure she was sick. I'm sure she still look at me today and like, dang, I could have signed that girl. I could be getting 20% from that woman. But no, you get 0% from me. Rude bitch. Oh, sorry guys. Oh, she was so rude to me. So, and I didn't like it. And I feel like Dragonfly is a prominent agency here in Dallas. But after that, I just didn't even want to even be signed to have a mother agency here in Dallas. I just felt like they would all be like how Anastasia Dragonfly was. And I was like, oh no, I can't. I will not take part of any type of business that these modeling agencies have, because I've heard many stories of how they don't treat their colored models the same as they treat their blonde models. And I mean, I just don't want to be bothered with it after that whole ordeal many years ago. But
Chaz, you mentioned how you felt afterwards, how you didn't let it defeat you. Tell us a little bit about that and what other folks can take from that.
Because I mean, obviously, because I was excited. My emotions were totally different before I went into
How old
the
were you at
meeting.
the time too, when you first went to that agency?
Huh?
How old were you too when you first went to the agency?
I think I was like 20 or something. I think I was 20 or 19. I don't know how old I was, but I know it was before I moved to New York. And yeah, it was before I moved to New York. And I think I was like 19, 20, something like that. I don't know. But I know I was excited. I know I was really excited. I feel like, wow, I'm about to get signed to an agency. I'm excited, like this is it, like I'm about to do big things. Just for her to tell me why did I come to her office looking the way I did. And I'm like, dang, I could, because I'm a model and I'm here for my presence because of how I look, and you just literally be like, and she literally said, no, that's you don't have to look. This is not it. And asked me, why did I come looking the way I looked? Because why did I come with my braids? So I could have literally was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not even gonna model anymore, because it's the fashion industry here in Dallas is so close. It's a closed circle, and it's so tight knit. It's very small, and all of the agencies and all of the models, everybody know everybody. So I knew that it would get out like, oh, she came to my office looking this way, blah blah blah, and all of those things, all of those thoughts were in my head. So I could have been defeated, but I was like, you know what? I'm about to show every modeling agency in Dallas that I can do everything by myself. And I'm going to make them regret not signing me. So that's what I did.
No, thank you.
That's
Steph?
what I did. That's what. Oh, I didn't know I thought I was on mute. I'm sorry.
Nah, we needed that. We needed them ad-libs. We needed those ad-libs.
I love it.
Chastity's story is so important, and I think it's indicative of the importance of fashion and media in general in this conversation. It's that people can be very dismissive about fashion and style and think of it as, oh, it's just the more kind of the superficial or fluffy, but this is representation. Think about all of the young women whose dreams have either been crushed, who haven't even believed that they could dream of becoming a model because they don't see enough people like her, because those meetings happen in closed rooms and we don't know. And looking at Tashara's hairstyle and all of the young women and the girls that are now empowered to be proud of how they look. It's not a little thing. And I think I want to start this question with Tashara, because you mentioned COVID-19 and you also mentioned that things are changing. What do you feel is different about this particular time in history, the pandemic, the racial reckoning, and the election? How has this changed your work, and what are you going to do differently during this time?
Oh man, it's tremendously changed my work. I think back to when I first started in journalism. I had 2 white women at the station that I was at in College Station. I literally felt like the scum of the earth almost every day going home. And it came to a point where I truly felt like, because of who I was, because of what I wore, because of how I acted, and honestly, I think because of my race, I wasn't respected and or appreciated in that first job initially, early on. And so I think to where we are now. And I don't have to hide. I don't have to try to pretend. I don't have to try to do anything to tell these stories. I think we're at a time now where people are listening, where people are paying attention. And it's a situation where they are paying attention whether they want to or not. They absolutely have no choice, because it's out front, it's out loud, and you're having people stand up that probably wouldn't have done this 5 months ago, 6 months, a year ago, right? And so people are now more empowered to do that. So when it comes to the type of stories that I'm telling, I'm going to continue telling the same stories, but I'm going to lay it on them. I'm not holding back. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to act like I'm not being very intentional about telling Black stories with Black voices and elevating Black voices like I consistently do on a daily basis. I'm not going to fight that. It used to be a point where people will say, okay, well, you make sure you have at least one of this color or one of that color or whatever the case may be in your storytelling. But I'm like, look, if I found a really good Black scientist and I found a really good Black parent to help me tell this story, what difference does it make to try to go include this one additional person just for the sake of saying, oh, well, it wasn't a story about Black people? It shouldn't be a story about Black people. It should be a story about a damn good scientist and an amazing parent doing her job, right? And people always want to equate it to race. But like I said, with this pandemic situation, with the election, with this reckoning, so-called reckoning, we're going to see how long that lasts, by the way. I'm hoping that it'll keep going, but we're going to see how long that lasts. But with this so-called situation that we're all in right now, if anything, 2020 has showed us, baby, you better show up and show out, because we don't know what's around the corner. You know what I'm saying? I feel like 2020 has been this crazy nightmare, but it's also been this beautiful thing where people are realizing like we need to pay attention. And there are some really terrible things happening in our midst. And so when you ask me what am I going to do, I'm going to keep doing the same thing, but I'm going to just lay it on harder. So telling my stories, elevating Black voices, and making sure people understand the true importance of cultural diversity and representation in any and all things, especially as it relates to media.
Thank you so much, Tashara. Leah, I was just I was listening to one of your presentations, and you kind of spoke about how this has changed in your work and for your clients. Can you speak to how kind of this time has altered how you're doing your work differently?
Yeah, to Tashara's point, people are now, you can no longer hide under a microscope and under the guise of, I didn't know, right? Or I wasn't aware that this was going on. Now, where brand could be here today, gone tomorrow because of their lack of representation, or something as simple as not wanting to say Black Lives Matter. Like, you would not believe the number of phone calls and amount of work we received from top tier companies around the US when all of this was in its height, just asking me what's the messaging we need to put in our social media posts. And my response back is, say the word Black. Why can't you say the word Black? Why are you afraid to say Black Lives Matter? It's not that difficult, but here's your invoice. You know what I mean? Like, I just, so it's crazy. It's in the blogging spectrum, I feel like we were always trying to tell Black stories and highlight Black designers and all the amazing things in the Black fashion industry here in Dallas. But again, we can no longer be silent. So I'm with Tashara in saying that I'm going to continue doing that work. I've always done that work. There was a point in time in Dallas where it was not recognized. And so I took it upon myself to blatantly buy from those Black retailers and those Black designers and wear them to shows where I was the only Black person. But now I feel like it can't be ignored anymore, and that we're of the culture now where we're going to call it how we see it. And people are afraid of that now, and they're taking the steps now to rectify the situation. I am a little bit concerned that it's a part of a trend where people are, we saw recently on social media where we did the Share the Mic campaign, where there was white content creators and white bloggers that shared the mic with other Black content creators and Black bloggers. While I was a part of that campaign, I was a little pissed off because there was a lot of Black content creators who had amazing content, more so than the people that were sharing the mic with them. And we have to create this so you can amplify their voices, and their content is killer enough to go on the cover of New York Times. So I'm very encouraged, but we have a lot of work to do. And it's discouraging at times, but I do see growth, but I'm just really hoping that this is not a trend. I'm really hoping that people will take the time to.
Chasity, how has the modeling industry and your work changed with being in the middle of COVID-19 and everything else that's happening?
Excuse me, it actually changed drastically. I haven't been on a plane since March, so I haven't traveled for work and since the pandemic. Most of my work comes from LA, and LA is still not even. I feel like LA is not really taking the pandemic very well. They're still closed down. I just did a campaign shoot for a LA-based makeup company. They flew here to Dallas to shoot. I did a music video for probably all of our favorite rapper, and I signed an NDA, so I can't say the name, and he flew to Dallas to shoot. So and he lived in LA. So I feel like it's drastically changed. I'm blessed because these people are coming to Dallas, and I'm still being able to do great things. But as far as the consistency of my work and what I thought would play out after my Playboy spreads and all of those things, it literally came to a standstill. So, but I am blessed and I am thankful that I'm still able to do some type of work, even if it's just based here in Dallas. And I'm happy that these people are coming to Dallas and, getting, Dallas and Fort Worth and, enjoying it, because we have a beautiful city here. So I am happy about that those people are spreading and coming to Dallas to work and want to work here. So, but it's cool.
That's good. Thank you, Chaz. We're gonna go right back to you because I want to talk about what needs to happen. Like that incident that happened to you obviously was wrong, and one thing that we really don't focus on when we talk about like racism and issues around race is that people are hurt and harmed from these issues, right? And usually what happens is institutions, they say, okay, we did something bad, now we're gonna move forward and do something good, but that is not addressing the harm that was caused. Leah talked about this harm that was caused through the blogging industry and these folks, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's a real damage, not only just like psychological and mentally and emotional, but it's a economic damage too, right? Tashara talks about these messages that she gets, and it's not just obviously hurting her and from that moment before she snaps back and realizes who the F she is, right? But it's also like it damages other people too.
Yes.
There was a statement that's saying that if you are not your full self, then that means that people coming behind you can't be their full self, right? So let's I'm gonna start off with you, Chaz, then we'll go to Tashara. What kind of transformation needs to happen in this city and in this region? What kind of repair needs to happen in order for racism to end in the fashion and media industry here in Dallas?
Well, first, I think first and foremost, the first thing I feel that needs to happen as far as agencies and the economic gap and the wage gap that is happening as far as colorism is Black women, Black women. I'm only going to speak as far as models. First of all, I feel like people need to know exactly what they're worth and don't be afraid to ask for it. And I feel like what needs to happen, they have to understand that you can't really do anything without Black women, Black models. Black designers. You can't really, stuff don't move without us. So once you figure it out, like, first of all, they way too late, honestly, because the train is already rolling. So if you already left it behind, then you probably won't be here, in the long, like, you won't really be here no more. So I don't know, I just feel like I need to hear, get on it, honestly. So figure out your future. And if you want to continue to be this Dallas white-based if you want to continue to do that, then you have to understand that you probably won't be here no more. So that's all I'm saying, because I ain't about to be, I can't continue to dwell on what these people and companies want, because I know we can do it on our own. So I don't really care what they do. I don't know. Sorry that I'm like so passive and aggressive. Sorry.
Tashara, that's good. That's good. Tashara, what you think? That's good, Chaz. What kind of transformation and repair needs to happen in order to end racism in the media industry and what you do?
Well, first of all, because I know y'all are all about history, and I'm a history buff too. I think that's kind of how I started, following everything that you guys were doing with this organization, because I love history and I love the work that y'all are doing. I found like an old video that was amazing. I wasn't that old, but anyway, it was like an hour-long presentation that I found of you guys. So I think, number one, realize historically where we've come from, right? Realize historically, whether we're going to start in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, where we come from in the media industry, how Black women at the anchor desk, how Black women have evolved in that spot, right? I know, Jerry, one thing you hate is when people say first Black whatever, right? You know, it sucks that in 2020, so I'll just throw this out there, in 2017, I was the first Black evening news anchor at my station in Tyler, Texas. Like, that's crazy that we are even still saying those kind of things these days, like unheard of. So recognizing some of those things and recognizing that there are still issues when it comes to Black representations on the anchor desk in prominent roles at these stations, right? You can't allow somebody to show up as themselves when they don't have a position to show up to be in. Right. So recognizing all of that from a historical standpoint, and truly coming to grips and having conversations about that. One thing that my station is doing right now, and again, like I said earlier, I hope this is not a fad. I don't think it is. So I'm going to have some optimism in that regret. But one thing that I will say is that we just started an equity and inclusion team of folks, right? And we are really digging deep into not just the issues that are happening right now, but into ways to have crucial conversations about things that have happened in the past and things that have led to this point, right? So what would make someone, for example, so comfortable emailing me some of the things that they've emailed me, or commenting on posts saying some of the things that they're saying? And these aren't just trolls. Like, these are people with genuine, deeply rooted issues and concerns about Black hair and seeing Black women on TV in a certain light, that have concerns about it, and have issues, and they think that they're right with how they feel. And so I think having those conversations and digging into the history of why we are here. Yes, the issues that we're dealing with, from, you know, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, all these different situations have brought many problems to light. But man, this is stuff that we've been dealing with for a really long time. So until we can get to that point of recognizing how we got here, it's going to be a struggle. So I'm thankful that I'm part of a team that's trying to do that. I'm thankful for the work that you guys are doing from a historical standpoint. And so I think that's going to be the big thing for me. You know, I'm like Chasity. Like, sometimes I do get a little pessimistic when it comes to, or passive rather, when it comes to certain things, Chasity, because dang, we've been dealing with it for so long, sis. Like, we've been dealing with this for a really long time. And now all of a sudden people want to wake up and pay attention. I'm here for it. Don't get it twisted. I am. But at the same time, I'm like, look, I'm gonna need y'all to keep that same energy into 2021, 2022. And as we continue to move forward, because the moment that we stop talking about it, everybody gonna act like ain't nothing happened in 2020. And 2020 has been one of the crazy years of all of our lives. So I'm just hoping that we continue to have those conversations. We dig deep and realize how we got here and realize the messed up things that brought us here. So that's what I'm hoping will happen, so that we can all come to grips with the situations that we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Leah, you know, what do we need to do to, you know, transform the work that you do and to repair in the racism and the fashion and media industries? You're on mute, Leah.
Okay, we're good now. I'll just speak to the Dallas fashion industry as a whole. I think I mimic everything that Tashara was saying, and the work that you guys do is that we have a history problem. Nobody wants to go back and look at history. We just want to sweep everything under the rug and just kind of say, we're here today, it is what it is, and let's just move forward, instead of going back and saying, we're here today because of these decisions that were made. We're here today because there's these people at the top that are purposely creating barriers to where people of color cannot come in and be a part of the decisions that have to do with the Dallas fashion industry as a whole. So I think in knowing that, we need to go back and review that. Number two, for these organizations or these individuals that the way I see it in my head is like they're just playing puppet master. They get to go and pick and choose, like, this is going to be the designer that shines in Dallas. This is going to be the retailer that we push to the top. This is going to be the one Black person or the one Black influencer that we're going to support and make sure that makes it worldwide. I feel like, just as it is in any other situation, if leadership is looking around and you don't see one Black person or you don't see a person of color organizationally, then you guys need to do something to change. But I also feel like we as people of color, as Black people, I've made it my mission to infiltrate these organizations. Well, okay, I'm going to insert myself and make sure that I climb up to some of these leadership positions so I can start changing the landscape of the decisions that are made. Or I'm going to take it, because I feel like sometimes we feel like I'm just one person, I can't make a difference. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. If it's, okay, I'm the only Black person at the fashion show, and then I just started taking the stance as a blogger, well, when I show up to these events, I'm coming blackety black, 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 head to toe, Ankara print, big fro. I'm coming like I'm Black and I'm proud to show you that this is something that is missing within our industry. And I feel like that was highly recognized and received. So I think it's twofold. I think Dallas as a whole needs to recognize the barriers that it set. Leadership needs to change and incorporate more voices of color, amplifying more Black bloggers, more folks in media, encouraging those stories, encouraging those designers, supporting those designers. So we're seeing this outpouring of people that are buying from Black-owned businesses. I'm encouraged by that I'm seeing, not just in fashion, but even in the restaurant and the food blogging landscape, where every Tuesday is Takeout Tuesday or something like that, and they go and they support Black-owned businesses. But I'm with Tashara. I want to see that same energy in 2021, 2022, 2023 until things start changing around. And I'm so afraid that this is just a trend. I'm so afraid, but I feel like that's where the work starts. History, a change in leadership, but we as the press, let's just start breaking down doors. And if they're not gonna let us at the table, let's build our own and lift ourselves up like we have been.
Oh, that's good. We appreciate that. And I'm really excited too, because, well, cautiously excited, because during this time, it seems that things that around racism, especially anti-Blackness, is being, recognized. I'm thinking about a local issue that we'll probably have another Transformation Tuesdays about, which is like public relations, particularly with the Richards Group. When their leader, mentioned that an ad was too Black, and talked about white supremacists, and immediately lost, big accounts like Home Depot and Motel 6 and other folks are now leaving, which is obviously causing big effects happening at the Richards Group, which is one of the biggest media companies in the city. So I'm glad and cautiously excited about folks really supporting anti-racism work. But as we close out, we want to also support you all very specifically. So, I'll start with Tashara. What can our community do not only to support anti-racism work, stuff like you all are doing at WFAA with your equity group, and promote racial equity, racial healing, and racial justice, particularly for Black women who are doing this work? What can we do to support you all?
Hey, that's easy. Support Black women. Support Black women in fashion.
Because we say that all the time, but folks just, they'll put up a Instagram post say support Black women, but
they ain't really doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. What are some tangible ways that we could do that?
Well, I would say, okay, for me in particular, for journalists of Black journalists in particular, right, that are in Dallas, you can share their work. You know what I mean? Like if they have a story that they've posted on their page, which they do very often, and I'm not just talking about me, I'm talking about many journalists across the board. You'll recognize about me. One thing about it is I'm not going to throw shade on nobody. I'm going to share their work. I don't care where you are. If it's a good story, it's a good story. From the Dallas Morning News, Fort Worth Star Telegram, other news stations, NBC, CBS, all these other news stations. If it's a good story, it's a great story, especially if it's elevating Black voices, why not? And so support their work by sharing their stories, by sharing their content. When you see people going after them on social media, I'm not saying you got to always jump in and try to help them, but I mean, really just liking a post or sharing it, emailing the station something nice, whatever it is, just support the work that they're doing and let folks know. Because a lot of times, especially for the stories that I tell, sometimes it feels like you're in this kind of situation alone, right? When you don't get all the support that you think the story should receive. And so I think sometimes it can be a lonely road to travel. So support their stories, share their work, and do what you can to continue helping them to elevate those voices. Send story ideas. People always want to complain about, oh, y'all only show the robbery or somebody getting shot or all these different things. I'm like, when was the last time you sent a story idea to a Black journalist in this market? There are plenty. So send them good story ideas. I'm sure they will be itching to tell them. And I think those are tangible ways, at least from the journalism standpoint, that people can show up and try to support us.
Really good tangible ideas. What about you, Leah? What are some tangible ways folks can support Black women in your industry?
Shout out to my hoodie and to what Tashara said, respect, protect, and love the Black woman. So all of the above. But it's the same landscape for bloggers and influencers. They're non-traditional media, so it's the same thing. If you see something that you like about them, share their work, continue to follow, subscribe to their list. If you like something that they post and you want to purchase it, it helps them when you click that link and you actually buy. That means that they can continue working with that particular brand, and it puts money in their pocket so that they can continue posting beautiful images and inspiring you through their feed. Another thing for the Dallas fashion industry as a whole, support your Black designers or support designers of color, support our Black retailers. They're not just, shout out to Tashara's shirt. She's gonna tell me who she got it from. But it's, and I hate when I hear like, well, I don't know where to start. There's a million lists that were created in the wake of what happened to George Floyd that will tell you Indigo 1745 is the longest standing Black-owned boutique in Bishop Arts. Husband and wife team, amazing. The same quality of clothing they carry is what you'll find in Neiman Marcus, right? So you can find lists like this and pour money into these businesses knowing that they've been oppressed over time just by virtue of the fact that they were Black. So that is tangible things. I feel like pouring money into the Black community is just one way, but also you guys, Jerry, what you guys do supporting you guys' line of work so that you guys can support us is something that I feel every time I speak on these issues, I tell people to support Dallas TRHT, and I think that all of those things combined are things that can eventually effectuate change.
We appreciate you saying that too. And Tashara also does that as well too. We appreciate you, Tashara.
Y'all know I be trying to show a little love.
Chaz, how can people support your work? I don't know, like Chaz, she should. I went to this Tashin library. I don't know if you all know the Tashin library, because I love books. Obviously, y'all see my books, and I saw this amazing book of Naomi Campbell. $2,000 is a signed copy, and I want to buy it. That's how dope it was, right? And like Rihanna has this amazing book, and I think Chaz got so much material. She can have one of these amazing books too. But Chaz, how can folks support Black women who are in your industry?
I feel like the most important thing for me and how I love the support is word of mouth and referencing me, and just letting people know about me and about other models that you love. Like me, I love supporting other Dallas models. I mean, I do have my favorites that I always reference, but but I feel like I love putting money into my other Dallas models' pockets. Like if I can't do a job and I'm already booked, okay, but hey, you need to book her though, because she's amazing. So I feel like word of mouth is the most important thing of how you can support somebody that you love and want to support. And of course, social engagements, liking, sharing, work, because I do work hard. I work, modeling is not an easy job. So I would, so by liking and commenting and, raising my engagements on Instagram, Twitter, and things, that's a sign of support as well. Yeah. Stuff like that.
We should share that this whole panel came together because of a Twitter thread that
I know. That's amazing.
Social media is real.
That's so crazy.
I want to close by giving you guys the opportunity to share your social media handles, your websites. How can people continue to follow your work?
I can go.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm at Tashara Parker on everything. So Tashara Parker on everything. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, professional profiles, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. So follow me, holla at your girl, let me know what's up. At Tashara Parker.
Hey, everybody. You can follow me on all social media channels at the Leah Frazier, or you can reach out to me at Leah Frazier. Exciting race-related projects that I'm working on. I just told you guys about the model one, but there's another one concerning Black-owned business, so definitely stay tuned.
Hey guys, you guys can follow me on every platform with Chasity Samone, ChasitySamone. And also I'm dropping a new line of a clothing line on November 11th. So it's a lunch, and I'm having a party in Dallas. So look out for the information for that news. I'm very excited about it.
We need the press release. Hello, Tashara needs the interview, and I write for the Dallas Observer. So what's up?
Girl, come on now.
How she gonna do us like that?
I just followed you on
y'all.
Instagram too, like a minute ago. So yeah, let's make it happen.
Yeah, I'm about to jump in these
Black
DMs.
women. Y'all amazing.
I'm about to jump.
Y'all.
Crazy.
I love y'all. As soon as it's done, I'm about to send y'all a whole dick, okay?
Yes.
Awesome. I mean, I just want to again thank Tashara, Leah, and Chaz for being on here with us. Like, these three women are definitely the epitome of everything excellent about our community, just their work, period. But they are also all just beautiful women and examples of working hard and working twice as hard, right? And we don't want them to continue to work twice as hard. We want them to be supported in their work, but also to be heard and listened to, because they have experienced a lot of things in their own industry, even in the Dallas context. So thank you all again for being here with us. We really appreciate you. This has been another Transformation Tuesday. Look out for the next one. We have a lot of more conversations to do. If you all have any suggestions for us for conversations that you want to hear, please send an email to us at info@dallastrht.org. Again, we thank Tashara, Chaz, and Leah for being on with us, and we will talk to you all later. Follow them on all the platforms, you all. All right? Thank you so much.